Welcome to the Faith Talks Wood Podcast. I'm Will from Flatwood Acres.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.
Man Word Podcast talks about everything from Jesus to joinery, a little bit of everything in between. So, Tom, you and I were just chatting a little bit before we hit record. And I've got a funny story that kind of goes around this. So, there's a big golf outing that happens every year at my work. And I haven't golfed in it. Well, our CEO called me this last week and he's like, "Hey Will, I'd really like you to play in the outing next week. It'd be really good for you to get in front of the board and just, them get to know you a little bit better and stuff, and it's a good place to do it, and it's a relaxing outing. It's just a scramble. It's a lot of fun." And I told him, I said, "Well, I haven't golfed in years. I used to golf a lot. I mean, my parents, when I graduated high school, my graduation gift for my parents was a membership to a local 9-hole club that's in our town. Just a nice little 9-hole course. They kept it real nice, and I got a membership. And so I worked second shift at a grocery store, and so I would get up in the mornings. I'd get up early. I'd go out and play around at 9. I'd come home, shower, and I'd go to work. I did that every day, every weekday. And then on the weekends, usually it was some buddies and I would go out and do a round. And so I got pretty good at golf. Like, I wasn't going pro or nothing, but I could hold my own. And so, I told him, I says, I haven't golfed in a long time. I don't even have clubs anymore. Really nice set of clubs I got when I was in high school. And our first house we owned in Tennessee, they were in the attic. And we sold the house, moved, and then when we come up and move back to Pennsylvania, I was like, "Where are my golf clubs?" Oh, crap. They're in the attic of the first house. And so I haven't had any golf clubs. And so anyways, I started searching the Facebook marketplace for some clubs. I got to find some clubs. I got to get out and try to do a round of golf just to, dust off the old shoulders and the hips and get the swing back. Luckily, I still have my golf shoes, which was, that's a big, I don't have to invest in those. And they're nice, Nike golf shoes or whatnot. But, and so I get on, I find this guy, $75 for this set of clubs. I go and I pick him up from this guy on Facebook. Really nice guy. We chatted for a bit and I took him home, and I was busy all weekend and I didn't get out in the yard to chip around until Sunday night. I'm out in the yard, I'm chipping around. I'm like, they're nice clubs, but for whatever reason, they just don't feel right. Well, they were women's clubs. They were like women's shaft, like length, right? Like the shorter. I'm 6'2". Like for me, I need a standard or a long club just to, And so I'm like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me." And so anyways, I got on Facebook and found another guy that had some clubs, and I was like, "I'll trade up. I'll give you money and these ones." It looks like he buys and sells clubs is what he does, for whatever. And so, but anyways, funny story. So I'm chipping around the yard. My wife had went grocery shopping, so the kids and I were outside, and they thought it was a blast. I had these little foam golf balls, and I chip them, and they go running after them, and see who could get to them first, and just whatever. And so I'm chipping around the yard, and my wife gets home, and we're unloading groceries. And next thing you know, my daughter screams bloody murder and comes running towards us. And we're like, "What the heck is going on?" And so we're like freaking out. Well, I go walking over to where she went running up to me, and I picked her up, and then I handed her to my wife, and I go walking over to her, and Tom, I'm going to send you a picture right now. And sure enough, I see a snake in the yard, pretty big gardener. And I thought at first that she got bit. I'm like, no. Nope. If you look closely at what's in his mouth, he was in the process of eating a frog, and my daughter come up on him, and they scared the crap out of each other.
Oh, dude, that would have scared me. And I know what a gardener snake is. I ain't gonna lie. Every time, so my reality with snakes is I just assume they're all poisonous, and I step away, and then I'll kind of walk back and look, and then I'll figure it out. And, I know which ones are poisonous and not. But when in doubt, just run. I'm I'm on the side with your daughter, man.
Well, so the funny thing, I'm not afraid of snakes or any of that. I'll pick them up, no problem. Now in Tennessee, like probably when you're in North Carolina, like there's copperheads and cottonmouths.
Yeah.
And some rattlers. You don't want to mess around with those, and they're aggressive and they'll come after you. Up here, we've got rat snakes, we've got black snakes, we've got gardeners. We don't have. There are eastern rattlers, but you don't see them often. They're not very common. And we have a lot of snakes, around, which is good. They're eating the mice and all the stuff. But so, anyways, I went out and bought, because I gotta go golfing. I went out and bought a nice glove, because I like, when I'm driving and hit my irons, I like having a glove on. My left hand just helps with the grip and control. And so I've got my glove on, and I was chipping. And so I handed my daughter off to my wife. I had the pitching wedge, and I go over with the wedge, and the snake, I might post a picture on the Instagram. I don't know. It's pretty gruesome looking, but he's halfway eating a frog. And so he's like trying to run away, but like, man, I'm just trying to eat. And so I pick up the front of him with the pitching wedge, and I grab his tail, and I got my glove on, and I carry him over to the woods, and I stick him in the wood line, and he goes in. If that little stinker didn't pee on my glove, if you know anything about gardener snakes, they're not venomous, so they have a pheromone that they release. It's extremely stinky. And I got this nice new glove that I got, and so I was actually up on my dresser now. I put it through the wash and had to wash it last night. I was so mad. I'm like, man, I done saved your life, that my dogs didn't get you. And I didn't kill you. I just took you and put you off in the woods. And what you do, you go and pee on me. So, anywho, but that's my golf story. But I know we were talking. You said that you used to golf a lot. Man, I enjoy golf. But to your point, I am not going to sacrifice family time for it. And so if my son, if he gets to where he's 10, 12 years old and he wants to get out on the course and he enjoys it, absolutely. We'll become golfing buddies. But I'm not going to, go out on the course when my wife's home with the kids. And I told work, I said, I will golf in outings only during work hours. If you want to pay me to go out on the course for an outing, I'll do that. But I'm not going to go out on a Saturday or an evening and, miss dinner with the family to be out on the course. And so I'm sticking to that pretty strong. But anywho, so my fear is, and all you guys out there that are golfers, love to hear your thoughts on all this, but the place I'm golfing at is the nicest golf course in our, probably, if not, tri-state area. I mean, Pittsburgh has, what the heck is it called? There's a really nice PGA Tour one in Pittsburgh, but ours is just a private country club up here, and it's really, really nice. And they say it's a pretty hard course. I'm like, I'm going to go out there. Either I'm going to hack it up, or I'm going to do what I did with bowling, and I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to, shoot an 80 or something stupid. You know what I mean? No, probably not. But, I'm going to go out there and just shoot really good. And that's what happened. And then they're going to expect me to golf more. I used to bowl in a bowling league for years, and we have a fundraiser that we do at work for a bowling. It's called Bowl for Kids' Sake. We raise money for St. Jude. And the last 2 years, I've come out there and bowled 240, 250s, right? And because I used to bowl all the time, and after a first warm-up game, it gets back to me, and, like you said, muscle memory, and I go out there and just knock them down. And they're like, oh, you're going to join our league? No, I'm not going to join your league. But I'm afraid the same thing's going to happen with golf, that it's going to come back to me. The muscle memory is going to be there, and I'm going to go out there and, be putting them down, but hopefully not. I hope it's just easy, fun, good time.
Yeah. I actually used to golf a lot. I was never good. Like on a good day, I shot 85. On a bad day, I shot 95. So it was just a mediocre, average, country boy golfer. and I loved it though. I like the strategy of it. I enjoyed the time with friends. But then when I had my daughter, when she was young, when she was like 3 or 4 years old, I had a kid set of clubs for her because my dream was that she was going to grow up to be my golfing buddy. And well, she would swing those clubs and she'd hit golf balls from our yard over into our neighbor's yard. And I would go, yes, I just knew here is my future golfing buddy. And then when she got a few years older, I tried to take her to the golf course because I just knew. I was like, man, she is hitting the ball crazy well for a young kid. She wanted nothing to do with the golf course. And then when she finally picked up a soccer ball and started kicking the soccer ball, she didn't want anything to do with the golf clubs. And so I felt guilty going out and spending 3-4 hours and the money involved. And so I quit golfing. I sold my clubs, got rid of them. But now, I got my daughter turned 22 the other day. And
ooh, wow.
Yeah, I know. Crazy.
I remember when she turned 20 on the pod. That's how long we've been doing the podcast.
Yeah, that's right. And but she turned 22 and she has orientation on Friday for PT schools, and she starts PT school on Monday. So I would say I'm about 3 years away from being a golfer again. I'm going to have the time now. I just don't have the money. But when she graduates PT school, I could see myself getting a membership. We have a local club here that's actually, it's pretty reasonable. It's like $1,500 a year. And that is not bad. I mean, when you divide that on a monthly cost, like maybe it's $1,800 something. It's like $120, $150 a month. And and you could go out and walk, and I enjoy walking golf and play all you want. I would, when I'm retired. Back in high school, I had a friend of mine, and her grandfather played golf 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday. He would go out and walk 36 holes, and Sunday afternoon.
Good exercise.
It is. And dude, this was when he was in his mid-80s. He was still doing this, but he always walked. He never used a cart. And so, I could see myself doing that in retirement. But right now, I don't have the money because I got a daughter. Next week, I get to write a big old fat check to Colorado Mesa University.
Right. Yeah, so, I do enjoy golf, and I haven't done it in a long time, but it is a great exercise. And the one thing that I was always good at, and we'll find out here this weekend, I'm going to go Saturday morning with a buddy, my chipping game.
Yes.
My driving was okay. My putting, it was okay. But if I was within a pitching wedge down to a lob wedge of the green, I could put it within a 1 or 2 putt. Whatever reason, I got a hang of the pitching wedge game. And so that's what I'm hoping, because I remember I went out last time I golfed was in Tennessee. There was a big scramble for Middle Tennessee State University, big college.
Yeah.
And
I printed T-shirts for them.
Yeah, MTSU. Yep. That's what we lived right next to it when we were in Tennessee. And so Murfreesboro, Tennessee, MTSU. Yep. But so I golfed in the scramble, and I remember it was a best ball kind of scramble, and so I'm out there and I drive okay or whatever, and we got down within, like, you take a 60-degree lob wedge, from the green, and everybody's kind of getting on the fringe of the green or it's rolling past. I remember I put it within, like, I don't know, a club head length of the hole, like just like 4 or 5 inches, right? And everybody's like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just go out here and hack away. But it is, to your point, a good exercise. If you're walking, you can get out there and shoot. You'd be out there in your 80s or 90s and still be golfing and stuff. But to your point, that $1,800 a year is cheap.
It's a lot of money when you're raising kids, got kids in college and everything. But when you think about if you take $1,800 and divide that by 12, and then you say, oh, that's 120, $150 a month. And then you
You go out
divide
once a
that.
week.
Right. Like if you go to a
Right.
movie now,
Right.
you spend as much you would doing that. I mean, it's crazy.
Yep.
And so, yeah, when I get old, which I'm already old, when I get a daughter graduated and I can afford it, I will start back often because I love the game. So,
Yeah. My buddy in high school, he went to Penn State University for turf grass science. And his whole dream was to work at a golf course. And that's what he does now. He's a greenskeeper for a golf course in, I want to say South Carolina or something, maybe. I don't remember where he's at. But his internship in college, his first year, was at Congressional in DC.
wow.
And he was telling us, like, he said, just to become a member, it's a several year wait list. And then it's $500,000 a year.
Phew. Oh, you know, I can't even fathom what kind of money those people make to be
Right.
able to spend 500 grand to play. So ironically, the hometown where I grew up in, and there's a golf course there, and Michael Jordan is a member. He comes down there, plays. And my brother used to be a caddy there, and he would caddy and all, make crazy tips. And all these rich people have these memberships for this immaculate golf course, and that they come and play a few times a year. And I'm like, man, I don't understand it. Like, what? How did I go wrong in life? You know?
Okay, so you're a North and South Carolina guy.
Yep.
I'm going to name you off. There's 3 courses that he's worked at. My buddy on Facebook, he has them as his like job listings. His first one was in Wilmington
Yep.
at Eagle Point
Yep. I know where it
Golf
is.
Club.
Yep.
Yep. His second one was at Winston-Salem. It was at Forsyth Golf Country Club.
Forsyth.
Forsyth. There you go. Yeah.
Yep.
Forsyth. And now he's in Hanahan, South Carolina. Hanahan. I'm from Pennsylvania.
I don't know where that is.
Yemen's Hall Club.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. I'm familiar with the other 2. I don't know where that one is.
So anywho, but yeah, it's but yeah, he's into that and he's really good at it. I've seen, he knows grass, I guess.
Look, growing grass is an art. So ironically, my stepdad passed away, and my next door neighbor I grew up with, he managed golf courses. That's what he did. Took care of the greens, fairways, and everything. And he had a putting green in his backyard when we were growing up. But his wife passed away. My stepdad passed away, and he was friends with my stepdad. And he came by one day just check on my mom. And so I don't know if you'd call them dating, or they're just really old friends that go and do stuff because they ain't got nobody else to do anything with. All their other friends have died. And but he's 79 years old, getting ready to turn 80. He still takes care of a 9-hole golf course.
Oh, wow.
Like, it amazes me, and it's phenomenal. But yeah, it's a real small local course. And he said, I do it so I can stay active and still I get all the golf I want for free.
That's funny.
But,
this one my buddy works at, Yemen's Hall. It says it's one of the top 100 courses in the world.
Wow. Yeah, I've not heard of that one.
Yemen's Hall. It's in Charleston.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Dude, there's some expensive courses down on the coast of the Carolinas. Like, crazy expensive.
Well, you got some nice courses out your way too. There's some in Colorado. They got some real nice courses out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's one nice course here where I live. I can't afford to go play at it, but and Yeah, there's a lot of them in Arizona as well. But
Well, here's what we'll do. We'll make it now. We're going to call it. But when your daughter graduates and then you pick up a set of clubs and you get back out on the course, I'll come out and we'll do a round of golf.
All right. Or I tell you what, though. So of all the courses I played, and I played quite a few of them, my favorite is still Tobacco Road in North Carolina. Just if you ever go to North Carolina, it's about 45 minutes from Pinehurst. It is just crazy, stupid hard, but so fun to play. Another one, Tot Hill. But there's another one up. I would go to Syracuse, New York every year with a few friends. So we had a group of friends in the screen printing industry. And we get together and go up there and spend 3 days playing golf. And one of the courses we played at was at a state park above Syracuse, New York. And I do not remember the name of the state park, but the first hole teed off. And I forget the elevation drop from the tee box down to the green, but it was just like, it was such a drop that you didn't tee off with a driver. Like you could tee off with a 7-iron, because what you were looking to do is get the loft. And yeah, it was just, but what a crazy fun course. And I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, I would love to go back up there and play that again. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, we'll change the podcast to Faith Talks Golf, and we'll be back next week for more.
and our call tag will be 4.
Right. There you go.
For those of you that don't play golf, when you yell the word 4, it means I just made a really bad shot. It's coming for you and probably going to smack you upside the head. So get out the way.
Get out the way. So awesome. Well, before we get into it, the rest of the podcast, I want to thank the patron supporters. You guys are awesome. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/Faith Talks Wood. Also want to thank Surf Prep Sanding. If you need some sanding equipment, go to surfprepsanding.com and then use code FAITH at checkout, and you will receive 10% off, and it'll give the podcast a little kickback as well. So without further ado, what are we talking about today?
All right, man. So today we're going to talk about contentment. I'm gonna read a passage from Philippians, but I want to kind of tag a couple other passages as well. So to kind of pre-up the story, this week, for those of you that maybe follow me on Instagram, you saw that I posted some concrete getting poured last week. And pretty exciting. We've been making progress. We've got our French drain system in. Let's get the concrete poured. Then all that's left is getting the final grading and sod and fence done. And finally, I would get my life back and get to have shop time. Well, in the process of them pouring the concrete, we because they couldn't get close to everywhere where the concrete was being poured, they had to bring in a pump truck. And pump truck allows them to reach long distances away from the concrete truck, pump the concrete in. And we have a clean out in between our house and where our septic tank is. And that happened to be in the area where we're pouring concrete. And so they're taped it off so they could just screed over top of it and then, pull the tape off, and then it would be flush with the concrete. But because we're pumping it in, the guy's got the hose and he's pumping it. Well, he swayed right across top of the clean out, and as the concrete shooting out, busts through the tape and fills our clean out. So now our sewer line, the guy immediately gets a 5-gallon bucket of water and pours down the drain and thinking he's going to wash it all out. That didn't work. And so that day, no problem. But then about 24 hours later, my daughter is used the bathroom, taking a shower, and she's like, water's backing up into the tub. Yeah. So our clean out, our plumbing lines were full of concrete. So I'm like, stop. All right, we're just going to have a sponge bath off for tonight. I'll call the plumber in the morning. This is at 9 o'clock at night. I'm not getting anybody out there. And so the next morning when I could see, I get my snake thinking, oh, maybe it's just toilet paper. My first thought was, probably some concrete in there. Dude, I couldn't even bump my snake in there. So I call the concrete company. He said, we've had this happen about 2 or 3 times in my entire 20 years of doing concrete. All the other times the plumber was able to snake it out. Call them, we'll pay for it. So I called the plumber I know. They came out. They snaked one direction, got it. The others, they could not get the concrete to bust out, and the snake actually ends up busting the pipe. So I called the concrete people back, and they're like, all right, the plumber says we're going to have to cut all this out, dig down, and replace the pipe. Dude, they pulled out a piece of concrete, almost the full diameter of the pipe, like it was totally clogged. So that section of concrete had to be cut out, all the rebar cut out, dig down, replace the pipe in. We were out without plumbing for several days. And, I've got a wife and a daughter. For me, it wasn't as big of a deal. I just go outside, find a tree and pee. Not the end of the world. That's what us guys do. Ladies, they don't do that quite as frequently, And so for those of you who saw my Instagram where I posted a bucket with a noodle, long story short, that was kind of the option. We got a bucket. We happened to have a pool noodle around, lined it and made a place to go to the bathroom out where people couldn't see. And but in the whole process, it was like, you get accustomed in America. We walk in and we flip a switch and lights come on. We pick up a remote control and push a button and a TV comes on. We walk over to the faucet, turn it up, water comes out, go to the bathroom, flush it. All these conveniences that we've become accustomed to that are very normal in America, they're not normal in third world countries. But here, when you get accustomed to turning on a spigot and taking a shower or going to the bathroom and flushing it, goes out a pipe, and then all of a sudden you can't go to the bathroom in your house or shower or do anything, wash dishes, wash your face, brush your teeth. And but through it all, I would say my wife was, more inconvenienced than me because I can go pee outside. But then my daughter, she's also a girl. She was the least inconvenienced at all. She kind of found it humorous. And in the process, she said, it kind of reminds me of when we had the hurricane in North Carolina. And back in North Carolina, we had Hurricane Matthew came through, and it was a real slow-moving hurricane. A lot of times hurricanes come through with a punch, and they're really high winds and knock stuff down, and they're come and gone in 12 hours type thing. This thing kind of sat over us for 2 days and just rained and rained and rained, flooded everything in our area. I mean, railroad tracks underwater. We couldn't get out of our street because it was all underwater, and no power, no plumbing, no anything. We were cooking off of my camp stove and everything, and playing games by candlelight. My daughter was paddleboarding in our neighbor's front yard, and she was a kid, and she's like, hey, I'm a kid. I'm going to play and make the most of it. But over those 11 days, we just played a lot of games by candlelight. It was the only thing we could do. There was no power. There was no TV. And but it was kind of fun. It was like, okay, this is what we have. What can we do type thing. And my daughter had the same perspective over this. And I'm like, why are me and my wife complaining about, I got up early in the morning, had my coffee, and drove to the gas station so I could go to the bathroom the first day before we thought of the bucket thing. And, but yeah, it kind of puts everything into perspective. And so as I, gave thanks and apologized to God, apologized about complaining, and then gave thanks for, hey, you know what? We have a roof over our head. And as my daughter pointed out, this time we still have power. We still had lights. We had air conditioning, as we did not have during the hurricane. type situation. And so it just two totally different attitudes and perspectives on the same identical situation. And so then I just got to thinking about passages. And so I'm going to read a little passage from Philippians first, and then kind of tag a little Timothy and Thessalonians to go along with it. But I'm in Philippians chapter 4, starting in verse 10. It says, "How I praise the Lord that you are concerned about me again. I know you have always been concerned about me, but you didn't have the chance to help me. Not that I was ever in need, for I have learned how to be content with whatever I have. I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it is a full stomach or empty, with plenty or little, for I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. Even so, you have done well to share with me in my present difficulty." And if we were to hop over in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 8, it says, "And with food and clothing we shall be content." And in Thessalonians 5, 16, 17, and 18, it says, "Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, and give thanks in all circumstances." And so I love this passage in Philippians where he says, I know how to live with little or with nothing or with plenty. And the key here is his attitude toward Christ in giving thanks, regardless of whether it is with little or whether it is with plenty, whether it is with plumbing or whether it is without plumbing. And I just am so thankful for the things that we have in our lives. I mean, God has truly blessed us that we get to live in a country where we can worship Him, first of all. We get to live in a country that we have roads, we have indoor and outdoor plumbing and electricity. Most of us have a home, have a roof over our head. Some people have bigger roofs over their head. Some people have smaller roofs. But whatever your circumstance is, finding a way to rejoice and give thanks to the Lord and being thankful for what you have. Because at the end of the day, we have got it made in America. Man, do we have it made. We are just so blessed here. And, while we had to go a few days without being able to go to the bathroom and take a shower this week, all around us, dude, like our air here where we live is so smoky because there are 5 major fires in Colorado. An entire town, Meeker, Colorado, had to be evacuated. Like, people are losing their homes. They didn't lose their plumbing. They lost their house there and everything they owned in it. And, and same thing there with the floods down in Texas, the floods that happened in North Carolina, the fires in California. So when you're going through something tough or what seems to be tough, that really, quite honestly, it was nothing. It was absolutely nothing to go a few days with sponge bathing and, going to the bathroom outside in a bucket. But take a step back and look at what others are going through and then look at what you're truly blessed with. But, Will, have you ever had to go through something where you're like, at the moment, it's like, oh my God, it's kind of the end of the world type thing. And then after it's over, you go, that was absolutely nothing what we just went through.
No, never. No, life is just easy. No, I'm being facetious. No, I mean, yeah. So many times in my life, I can think back to, times where I feel like, wow, I got nothing. Like, everything's, I'm not content with it. And, that's been a part of my journey or struggle, if you will, is, this contentment idea. And it's bit me in the butt over the years. And I've had to learn quite a bit from it. But you know, I was doing a little cross-referencing as you were talking about Philippians, and too many windows open on my computer. 2 Corinthians 9 and 10, or verse 12, or chapter 12, verses 9 and 10. But he said to me, "My grace is enough for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. So then I will boast most gladly about my weakness, so that the power of Christ may reside in me. Therefore I am content with weakness, with insults, with troubles, with persecutions and difficulties for the sake of Christ. For whenever I am weak, then I am strong."
Amen.
You know, we do live in this, world, this culture, this time, especially in the United States, where most of us don't really know hardships. I mean, we've all been through stuff. I mean, I've lived in homeless shelter and, not had a place to sleep and eat in my life, but I'm here and I'm, by the grace of God. But like real hardships, I mean, not having running water, food, or a place to go to the bathroom, there's so many things that we take for granted. But the reality is that the joy that we have in Christ should overflow us in the times when we feel most discontent, right? Those days when you really feel like, it's the idea too of keeping up with the Joneses. You've heard that, they've got the newest car. I need the newest car. We can't stay content with what we have. But recently I've been teaching through Galatians at church, and Galatians chapter 5, verse 22, 23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And here's part of that it's not the fruits of the Spirit, it's the fruit of the Spirit. That when we don't have the self-control, when we don't have the patience, right? Talking about contentness, that we need to rest on God. We need to draw close to Him so that we can receive that contentness. And I think we just have it too easy. There's too many things, and I fear in my lifetime, maybe in my kids' lifetime, if not in my lifetime, there will be persecution of the saints. We don't see it right now, but there's evidence on the culture and the way things are going, that I fear that there might be a time when to believe and share your faith is going to be to be persecuted and to maybe get your rights taken away from you. And so, I think it's important for us to dig deeper into the Word every day. But yeah, it's amazing. After Hurricane Katrina, my youth group did a trip down there, 2005 or 6, I think it was. We went down, and it was amazing to see all these people that had everything taken away, but yet those who were Christians had this contentment and peace that you didn't understand. Like, how in the world do these people? And I'll never forget it. We went down there for a mission trip, and we had driven down on like a Friday into Saturday, and we went to church on a Sunday morning at a church that met in a school auditorium because their church was taken out by Katrina. And all they had were two guys and two acoustic guitars in a cheap PA system, and some of the most powerful to this day, it's been 20 years now, the most powerful worship I ever experienced was in that room of these people who had lost everything, but they placed their hope in the Lord. And I'll never forget it. I mean, I remember they did the song "Here I Am to Worship," and just two acoustic guitars and a body of people singing, and it just gives you a different perspective of like, oh my goodness, they've lost everything, but yet they're content. Amen. They have this peace and this hope in the Lord that sometimes we take for granted. And I think we need to, Galatians 5, the fruit of the Spirit, we need to check ourselves on that. If you're feeling, and this is on my mind because I listened to a sermon today that talked about it some, but if you're starting to feel, that you don't have the love or joy or peace or patience and this stuff, and it's starting to lose control of it, you need to draw back to the Lord. You need to come back to Him. You need to go to Him. And it's not the time to run away. It's the time to go close to Him. And in those times, and the thing is too, it's all about perspective. As you said, like your daughter's perspective on that was way different than you and your wife, right?
Yep.
Like to her, some of her favorite moments, memories that she had were, paddleboard in the neighbor's front yard and doing stuff that like you and your wife were worrying about surviving and providing. And she's like, no, this was great. Right.
Exactly.
And that's something about kids, man. I remember some of the worst times in my life growing up that, look back now, I realize that we didn't have, we were struggling, but I didn't take it that way. And I'll tell a quick story. My wife and I, we weren't married yet. We were engaged, and I was doing this gig where I would set up networks for car washes. And there's this company that built car washes in the tri-state area, Newark, Pennsylvania, Ohio. And they had a car wash they built in Lewiston, New York, which if you spit far enough, you're in Canada. It's way up north of Buffalo, north of Niagara Falls. And so I told her, I said, hey, I've got this job to go up and do in Lewiston. Why don't we make a day of it? We'll leave super early in the morning. It's like a 3-hour drive. Leave super early in the morning. We'll go do this. This job will take me like 2 hours. You can bring a book, your Kindle, or whatever. And then we'll go to the falls. We'll go to Niagara Falls afterwards. We'll make a day of it. And so we drove up there, no problem at all. We get up there, and I get the work done. Took a little bit longer than normally would, but I got the work done, and get back in to start the car, and the car won't start. It's dead. Now, it was a 2013 Ford Focus hatchback. I actually love that car, aside from the fact that it was unreliable. They had designed certain years. I don't remember, it was like 2012 or 2015 or something, a dual clutch transmission in these Focuses. Well, the clutches for these transmissions were going bad. And they weren't going bad as in like the clutches were wearing out, but the design of them was making electronics and different things go all kinds of wonky. And the way it worked, it had a lot of issues. And I had a couple times where it had broke down on me, and had kind of like, I had to get it towed to the shop, to the dealership. And it was all under warranty, like Ford was taking care of it all. Well, it broke down and it wouldn't start. And come to find out, we got it towed to the local dealership in Lewiston, New York. And they said, yeah, it's a transmission control module went out, which I hadn't had that happen before. I'd had some other things happen to it. And they're like, it's 6 to 8 week back order. Well, I'm 3 hours from home. And I'm like, I need something. And so Ford paid for a rental car. It was a Ford Fiesta, basically a go-kart. And that took several hours. We finally at dark got to Niagara Falls. It was actually really beautiful. Wife and I were both stressed, and we jumped in the car, headed back home in the worst rainstorm I've ever driven in. And all the way home in this little dinky car. And it was extremely stressful. It took us 4 hours to get home instead of 3. And it was just a nightmare. Well, the next morning, I wake up and I start calling Ford. I call the dealership. They're like, yeah, it's on back order. I called my dealership, and they're the ones I still use today, a Ford dealership. They're fantastic. They're like, there's no way that's on back order. Like, this is not on back order. You need to call this number. And it was Ford Corporate. And I called Ford Corporate and I said, this is the deal. My car's up there. I need to figure out what's going on. The guy puts me on hold, says, hold on 1 second. 3 minutes later, comes back and says, they have the part. Your car will be ready in an hour. I'm like, are you kidding me? What happened is because I was out of state and wasn't one of their customers, they had the part in stock, but they weren't going to give it to me. Oh, man. It was a less than an hour job. Literally, you just jack the car up, and there's a module that plugs in, and you move a couple of panels, and you boop, boop, plug it in, put it, whatever. And so I had to turn that same day all the way back up to get my car to come all the way back home. I was livid. And that car had broken down 2 more times on me. I finally got rid of it and was able to get out of it because of lemon law. That was a whole other story. And looking back on that, here's what this whole story is about. And I talked about this. I think I preached a sermon on it about Job. That was a bad, stressful scenario. We felt like we were going to die at one point because we almost got in an accident with the tow truck driver, almost a head-on collision. We were in the tow truck with him, and it was, it was really bad. And then all of this is just a really bad day to just find out that they could have had my car fixed in an hour and we could have been on our way. But we went through all this rigmarole. We got home safely. We were able to go out to dinner and get something to eat. We got to see Niagara Falls at night under lights, which if you haven't done is gorgeous. It was an experience. While it wasn't fun at the time, my wife and I look back on it, we're like, man, that was a kind of a fun day, right? Even though in the moment we didn't see that. So through it all of this, God was there. He was present. His hedge of protection was over us as we were traveling. And everything was okay. In the moment, though, we tend as humans, as creatures, our sinful nature tends to start going down the rabbit hole of God's not here. What the heck, God? Why me? Woe is me? All of this stuff. When if we could just have this mindset of being content in the moment and just taking that step back and saying, okay, God, you're in control. I'm not. You're God. I'm not. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to trust in you.
Amen.
And so all of that to say that, yeah, we all need more contentment.
Amen. We do.
So,
well, have you been making anything?
No. Well, we made fire and burnt the hornet's nest.
Oh, so I saw that. So how did you get it down from the tree? With the bag?
No. You guys, okay. First of all, don't judge me. Any of you guys. I don't want to hear it. So I got attacked by a hornet's nest when I was a kid. I've always been afraid of bees. I hate bees. I just don't like them. They're not my thing. Spiders don't bother me. I can pick up a snake. None of that stuff bothers me. But I don't like bees. And so I called around to get some quotes to get it removed. And it was going to be like anywhere from $200 to $300. And my wife, she grew up 2 older brothers, kind of out in the country-ish. and just, not afraid of anything except for spiders for her. And so we're outside playing, and she goes out there and starts throwing apples at this thing during the day. I'm like, what the world are you doing? She had like this adrenaline. Like, you ever see somebody that like they just want to mess with it, and she's got this adrenaline. She's throwing apples at it, and I'm over about 100 or so yards away from it with the kids on the swing set swinging, and she hits it, you hear it thump, and she screams and takes off running. It was the funniest thing in the world. And so she made him mad. Well, she went back out there that night. And I think we were recording the podcast with our last guest and with Cam, and she went out there and she sprayed it with 2 cans of spray, and then went back out there the next night with a 3rd can of spray and took out the rest of them, and she hit it down with a shovel, and then we got the burn pit going, and she picked up the thing and put it in the thing. So yeah,
Bro,
my wife
your wife is a badass.
That's an understatement, man. She just doesn't, that kind of stuff doesn't scare her. But it was funny because she was like throwing the apples at it. Oh, she hit it, she took off running. Well, then when we went back out there to burn it, I don't know what these hornets do, but they attached that thing to a branch, and she couldn't hit it down. She had a shovel because that thing was only 6 or so foot in the air, and she'd smack it and it would just swing back and forth and it would not fall. And she finally got to fall because she hit it and it broke the branch. And that thing stayed attached. And it was strange because there were still some alive, but they were like disoriented. Like the chemicals from the spray or whatever had just made them all, wonky. Yeah. But so yeah, that got taken care of. Nobody got stung. She didn't get stung. Nobody got stung, which is, surprising because bald-faced hornets are known to be aggressive and just a-holes, and they will come after you just because. But yeah, she didn't get stung. All's good and it's taken care of. But yeah, it's kind of funny. So no, I didn't do anything with it, Tom. My wife took care of it. So yeah, that was that. But no, I do have a project going. It's kind of a really cool thing. A family from my church, the girl, when I was on staff at this church years ago, was in my youth group. Now she's married, and her and her husband were pregnant, and unfortunately 2 days after Christmas they had a miscarriage.
Oh man.
And so it's been hard. They are now pregnant again, and everything's good. They figured out what happened and how to treat that and how to move forward. And so they are pregnant now, and she's really pregnant, and everything's looking really good now. But she's having a baby shower in a couple of weeks, and her mom, her dad is an elder of our church. I serve with them at church. But mom came to me and said, "Hey, I want to make them a plaque. And I want this plaque to be for the baby." So they lost a boy and they're having a girl. And she designed up this whole thing, and the boy's name would have been Case. They're a big tractor. They collect old tractors and stuff. And so I got like an outline of an old tractor with the Case logo on it. And then around it, it's a letter from Case to his little sister.
Oh, wow.
And it's just like hey, I love you, sis. Mommy and daddy are so excited for you to be in their lives, and I can't wait someday to meet you. And just this really, I was bawling my eyes out going over this thing, right?
Wow.
And so I'm taking this really nice piece of cherry, I milled it up and then glued up a panel from it, and I'm making like a plaque. I'm a laser engrave that into it. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. I got to get out there and milled up. What's funny is, you ever do this with woodworking, whatever the case may be. I grabbed some sassafras. I don't know if you ever worked with sassafras.
I have not. Nope.
Yeah, it's a softer hardwood. It's harder than than cedar, but it's it's about like a walnut, maybe a little bit soft like a cherry, but it smells really good, kind of like a cedar. It has a root beer kind of smell.
Oh,
It's kind of
wow.
what like a sassafras is kind of like that, kind of like a root beer type smell. And so I milled up some sassafras that I had, put it through the planer, got it all good, ready to glue up into a panel. Then I put the two pieces together, and I just didn't like how much grain showed. I felt like it would take away from the engraving because the grain on sassafras is pretty bold. And so like I milled that up and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And so I was like, I can't use this. I don't like it. And so I grabbed a rough sawn piece of cherry and I milled that down and got that cut up and glued that together. And that's going to look good because cherry doesn't really have a strong grain and it engraves really well. So end up going to go with the cherry. And that cherry will darken over time and be really, really pretty. But yeah, so that's a little bit of what I've been doing in the shop. And then I got a new table saw. And this table saw, the dust port is on the bottom, directly on the bottom. It's annoying. And I can't get I've got one of those Rockler stretchy hoses things, and I can't get it on to there if my handle is on there. So I have to take the handle off and actually get up under there and clamp it down onto there. I'm like, this is stupid. And so I ordered one of the 90-degree PowerTech things that I could put under there so I could just right from the side plug it in. So I just got that in. I got to get out there and get that attached so that I don't have to worry about crawling underneath there and attaching the hose every time. But yeah, that's what I've been having going on, to mill some wood, make some sawdust, and it's funny. So sassafras has a really strong smell, but cherry has a really nice smell when you're milling that up too.
Yeah.
I like the smell of cherry. It's like nostalgic.
Me too.
So, but yeah, how about you? Any woodworking yet?
Yeah, I actually was able. So, earlier I talked about all the fires in Colorado. The other day I got up and my plans were to go out and work on the grading outside, but the smoke was so thick. First thing I had to do was put graphics on a vehicle outside. And dude, by the time I was done with that, my throat hurt so bad. It was like the smoke was insanely thick. And it stayed like that most of the day until the wind shifted, the air density shifted, whatever, and then it finally lifted out. And so I was like, well, honey, I can't work outside. I'm sorry, but this is none of us. We all stayed inside to try not to breathe in the smoke. And so I just started cleaning the shop and then working stuff. And then my wife, she was inside tinkering with stuff. And so my stepdad, before he passed away, he loved collecting old antique tools, old antique pots and things like this. And when he died, my mom gave me a bunch of these clay pots. What they are is from the old dairy where they would make butter and churns and stuff. And we've got quite a few of them, different sizes and stuff. And my wife cleaned one of them up and put it at a spot in our house. And she's like, wanted to put a plant on top of this plant that I don't know the name of the plant, but it kind of droops down and over. She was like, if I had a cap to go on here, and she's like, can you make something like that? And I'm like, oh yeah, we could do that. And then I started showing her woods, and she chose walnut. Oh, my favorite word. So I'm making a plant pot holder that will sit on top of this and contour down around in it. But yeah, so but yeah, I got my shop, man. My shop is the cleanest it's ever been, and to get out there and mill some lumber and make some sawdust felt good. And I'm praying that these fires go away. Woke up this morning, again, smoke like crazy. So there's a fire north of us. There's one west of us, and there's one south of us. And then there's technically two of them that are south of us. And it just depends on how the wind is blowing, whether we notice it or not. But the one north of us, like the town of Meeker had to be evacuated. Like, dude, it's an insane number of acres that have been burnt. And so right behind us is a mountain range called the Grand Mesa. We could hardly see it from our house. It was just like a faint shadow. The smoke was so thick. And normally, like, it's crystal clear. So, but yeah, it just kind of depended upon the smoke. If it keeps up like this, I might have a lot of shop time because you can't get out there. This morning, I had to do another sign job, and same thing. I was just like, man, I got to get out of this smoke. It's just awful to breathe in. But yeah, but I'll post some pictures of that, and then I'm starting another project. So Bearwood Supply is having this little competition this month on building a clock. And what they're doing is promoting their clock part sales. But I actually had already planned on making a clock and for my wife. And I was like, oh, I get 20% off the parts. I'm going to go ahead and do it by the end of this month so I can submit it to that competition. But it's actually going to be my wife's birthday present in November. So like, this is making me get her birthday present done now. She doesn't listen to the podcast, so I don't have to worry about her hearing about it. But then I'll have it done, packed away, and then come November, her birthday present will be done. But yeah, so anyway.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
funny thing about the smoke thing. So we live on Lake Erie. Well, I work in Erie. We're about 45 minutes south of Lake Erie. Friday, I believe it was Friday, I got out of work and you couldn't barely see the sky because the Canadian wildfires are blowing down over this way. And it was just like thick. And I got home and we went to go outside with the kids, and we were outside for like 10 minutes. And all of us were just like, it was so thick. And then 20 minutes later, the wind changed, the skies opened up, and it was perfect out. I don't know how that, my wife and I both were like, wow, so we went back outside with the kids. Like, well, okay, whatever, know. But that's kind of crazy. But talking about woods, I've worked with walnut quite a bit, and I like walnut.
I love it.
Cherry's probably one of my favorite woods to work with. Aside from the burning, cherry will burn really easily when you're cutting on the table saw if you don't watch out or whatnot. And I like cherry because it's pretty stable. I don't like walnut for the fact that it moves a lot. That if you ever cut walnut, like if you're ripping down a piece of walnut, that board, it'll start to come off, and quite a bit. And I found that walnut tends to, like, if you're going to build something like a piece of furniture or something out of walnut, you mill it and you let it sit for a day, then you come back and mill it again, right? Yeah. Because it's gonna move. But it works easy and stuff. And especially
I just think it's beautiful.
Oh, you get some air dried walnut that has the purple in it still, and that that creamy brown and the purple. Oh yeah.
And the funny thing is, everybody always cuts off the sapwood, and I find the sapwood contrast to be so beautiful.
Right.
I don't know. I'm weird, but.
No, I understand. Yeah, I get that. I like working with different woods, and it ends up lately it's been just working with what I have. And so I've got sassafras, cherry, and hickory. I've got quite a bit of hickory in there. And then I've got some ash. And so, those are kind of the ones that I've been working with a lot because I have a lot of it. And then I have some cedar, some thick, like 2-inch cedar that was cut from telephone poles. So I'm thinking about milling some of that down and make like a birdhouse out of or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So anywho, very good, man. Well, it's getting late here. Going to get up. We actually have, I'm going to be at work early for a meeting at 8:15. So going to be there early.
Yeah. But me and my daughter, I told you she starts PT school next week. And I was like, this is my last week I have to spend any time with her. So tomorrow, me and my daughter are getting up and we are driving to Telluride Colorado, because she's not been there. I've been there many times with work, and we're going to go on a hike to Bridal Falls. It's the tallest waterfall in Colorado. And then
what's it called?
It's called Bridal Falls, and so like 3 waterfalls along this trail, and then
Oh wow.
we're gonna go over, park at Mountain Village, and take the sky lift over down into Telluride and have lunch and just spend the day together. I haven't had much time with her lately, and I'm like, look, after next week, you're not going to have any time. I was like, let's take a day and just go do something fun. And so, we're going to go hike to a waterfall tomorrow and spend the day. I'm looking forward to it.
Bridal Veil Falls.
Yep, Bridal Veil Falls, Telluride, Colorado. So,
yeah, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is there a house at the top of that mountain?
I'm not sure if it's a house or some type of building, like I'm not sure, but it's like 356 foot tall or something. I don't remember the height, but pretty tall waterfall. So, yeah, it'd be fun.
That's pretty cool.
Most importantly, I get to spend the whole day with my daughter. And that don't happen very often.
Hey, get your Lem shoes and go on a hike.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's what I'll be in.
Hey, I've been eyeing up some of them. I'm like, well, those are nice, but they're right now out of my budget. So.
If you got fat feet like I do, that's the only reason I pay the money for them, because my toes. If you saw my feet, most people's feet kind of taper. Each toe gets a little shorter. Not mine. I got my little toe, and then all the rest of them are the same length. My feet look like a square block. They are ugly and weird, man. And so gotta buy shoes with a wide toe box, and Limbs does that for me. So
absolutely. Awesome, man. Well, it's a good conversation as always, but until next week, I'm Will from Flatwood Acres.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.